Did you know Blake Lively almost landed the role of young Elizabeth Sparkle? Yes, that Elizabeth Sparkle, the unforgettable icon at the center of a gripping indie drama all about beauty, youth, and identity. For a hot second, Blake was this close to taking on what could have been her most daring role yet. On paper, she was the perfect pick, dripping in high-fashion vibes, shining with A-list energy, and no stranger to playing bold, dangerously seductive women. She'd nailed the bad girl act before, and fans ate it up every time. The vision? A fresh, radiant young Elizabeth, full of life and charm, set against her older, more complicated self. One character, two timelines, and a powerful transformation stretching over decades. Pure cinematic gold. But just when it all looked ready to go, the behind-the-scenes drama exploded. Fast. And guess who walked into the middle of the storm? That's right, Demi Moore. Things were about to take a wild turn. The moment Demi Moore was locked in to play the older Elizabeth Sparkle, everything shifted.
Setting is, heightened by the mere fact that it's, Elizabeth is somebody in the public eye. She's an actress, but it's, and so there are greater expectations and challenges that come when you are out front-facing and with judgments and criticisms that come from the outside.
Fast. Her involvement instantly elevated the project. Demi brought weight, legacy, and a lifetime of hard-earned credibility. She was a Hollywood powerhouse, no question about it. But behind closed doors, Blake Lively reportedly wasn't exactly celebrating. And no, it wasn't about Demi's talent. Insiders claim the real concern was how the visual contrast might reflect on Blake, that standing next to Demi could make her appear not quite young enough. Whispers from the set suggest that Blake quietly started pushing for a more aged actress to take on the older Elizabeth. Her reasoning? It would make the timeline feel more believable. But producers weren't buying it.
I believe in this, and that's why I'm standing up for it, and that's why I'm not being difficult. And then there are other moments to go like, am I the asshole in the room? Like, what is happening here?
They quickly picked up on what was really happening. This wasn't just a creative suggestion, it was about control. And just to complicate things more, Blake had recently given birth before entering talks for the role. Naturally, some flexibility was expected.
I would show up on a set. I knew that they just wanted me to show up and look cute and stand on a little pink sticker where I'm supposed to go and say what I'm supposed to say.
But what started as simple schedule adjustments soon snowballed. She allegedly asked for delays to feel more confident in her post-baby body. Then came the requests, specific costumes to flatter her figure, camera angles designed to slim. All totally understandable, until it became a full-blown production headache. One producer revealed that Blake started sending in emails filled with helpful suggestions for the wardrobe team. Ideas to tweak the characters' outfits so they'd better flatter her post-pregnancy figure. But that was just the beginning. Soon came lighting suggestions.
But I also knew that that wasn't fulfilling for me, that I wanted to be a part of the storytelling, that I wanted to be a part of the narrative, whether that be in the writing, in the costume design, in creating the character.
Talks about which side of her face looked best on camera, and even notes on dialogue, all aiming to subtly modernize the character's tone. It wasn't long before it felt like Blake wasn't just acting, she was trying to reshape the entire film. But the real battle?
And sometimes I had directors or producers or writers who would welcome that and invite that once they saw that I was able to offer that. And sometimes I would have people who really resented that because they were like, we just hired you to be an actor.
It exploded over the script's emotional core, the raw, vulnerable heart of the story. The original screenplay included a pivotal, tasteful scene with nudity, a key moment showing the younger Elizabeth at her most exposed, both emotionally and physically. It was vital to the story's arc of transformation, but Blake flat out refused. According to insiders, she strongly objected to the nudity, even though she'd taken on provocative roles before. This time, she wanted the scene rewritten or cut completely. Her stance? You don't need to show skin to show pain. But the writers pushed back, and so did Demi Moore, who had already agreed to bear not just her body, but her soul for the role. Blake's firm resistance set off alarm bells. To many on the team, this wasn't just about personal comfort or boundaries. It felt like a major red flag. This wasn't just about creative input. It was about molding a character to fit her own insecurities. And the wildest part? Blake hadn't even officially landed the role yet. What really stunned the production team was how she acted like the part was already hers. Sources say she started submitting rewritten dialogue and detailed scene notes before any contracts were signed. She had bold ideas for the opening montage, gave suggestions on how the director should shoot the flashbacks, and even asked if the ending could be changed, just so her version of Elizabeth could make a dramatic reappearance. The original story was all about the older character's final chapter, but Blake wanted back in at the end. One producer called it a hijack attempt. Another compared it to a red carpet takeover before the invite was even sent. But the breaking point? A meeting where Blake allegedly asked for a co-producer credit, claiming her creative input had already shaped the project in major ways. That's when the team made their move. Quietly, professionally, but without hesitation. She was out. Just like that, the script was restored, the original vision returned, and Demi Moore continued forward as the undisputed lead and emotional anchor of the film. No official statements, no public drama, just silence, and a production back on track. Those close to the chaos knew exactly what had gone down. Blake had once again tried to reshape a character into a reflection of herself, and Hollywood was starting to take note. When the dust finally began to settle, the decision to remove her from the Elizabeth Sparkle project came quickly and quietly. Producers, worn thin by delays, rewrites, and endless discussions that far exceeded what should have been needed for someone not even officially cast, had reached their breaking point. The film needed focus. It needed stability. And Blake, with her mounting demands and clear insecurities, was becoming a major disruption. Her discomfort with the nudity, the attempts to push back production, and her premature grab for creative control, it just wasn't worth the risk. So the team made the call. No more Blake. She was quietly removed from the running, and the crew finally had space to reset and breathe. But the drama wasn't over yet. Rumors swirled that Blake had made shady comments about Demi Moore behind closed doors, the kind of remarks that never stay secret. She reportedly mocked Demi's appearance, calling her overly worked on. And yes, word eventually got back to Dem. For someone stepping into a role that demanded rawness, both emotionally and physically, those words hit hard. It wasn't just unprofessional, it was deeply personal. Demi, who had been calm and committed through all the early chaos, reportedly saw it as the final straw. Since then, she hasn't spoken to Blake, not in private, not on set. The silent feud was official. When Margaret Qualley was cast as the younger Elizabeth, the entire team let out a quiet sigh of relief. Margaret brought exactly what the role needed: quiet depth, an ethereal presence, and most importantly, no drama. But Blake? She was far from thrilled. Insiders say she began throwing shade behind closed doors, questioning the casting choice, and even sneering that Margaret wasn't beautiful enough to play a younger Demi. Some claimed Blake said Margaret looked nothing like Demi anyway, arguing that the casting didn't track. But those catty remarks didn't stay buried. Word spread faster than Blake expected, and by the time it reached Margaret, any chance of friendly vibes was long gone. Margaret, known for her calm and grace at public events, made her feelings clear in her own way. At an industry mixer just weeks later, she reportedly walked right past Blake. No smile, no nod, not even a glance. The silent snub caught the attention of more than a few sharp-eyed insiders, and it spoke volumes. For someone as composed as Margaret to send such a pointed message, the damage had clearly cut deep. Blake's offhand comments weren't just rude, they were backfiring. She wasn't just burning bridges, she was isolating herself from the very circle she wanted to stay in. And what's even more revealing, this wasn't an isolated slip-up. It was starting to look like part of a bigger pattern, one that Hollywood was finally starting to pay attention to. From It Ends With Us, where she allegedly tried to override the original creative team, to the Barbie situation where she was rumored to have tried securing production control before even being cast, Blake's ambition isn't the problem, it's the execution. Again and again, she has tried to mold projects around herself rather than adapting to them, and it's rubbing collaborators the wrong way. These aren't blockbuster disasters. They're smaller, more personal productions, the kind that thrive on trust and vulnerability. the kind that don't need a brand, they need a team player. And yet for Blake, it seems no project is too small to hijack. What began as a hopeful casting conversation turned into a minefield of vanity, manipulation, and creative friction. This wasn't just about acting, it was about control, about being seen a certain way, protected from perceived flaws, and positioned perfectly, even at the cost of someone else's vision. Now the Elizabeth Sparkle project is moving forward without Blake, but with its dignity intact. Demi Moore, unshaken by the commentary, remains the face of the story. Margaret Qualley is bringing a fresh and thoughtful energy to the role Blake once lobbied hard for. And Blake? She's left watching from the sidelines, once again reminded that not every set can be re-scripted to fit her personal narrative.